The way you're going to build a personal brand that cuts through the noise and goes deep and builds genuine connection is being authentic. I'm sitting here in a poorly lit room with a low quality Mac Air webcam in a content only jumper, speaking into a black Rode microphone, feeling an overwhelming sense of imposter syndrome. I stepped up to the line with this conversation on August 17th, 2017, so just over 6 years ago. I ran a small event at the Olsen Hotel in South Yarra. The room was full, and I went into the conversation that's getting started today. The next morning, we went into hospital and had a checkup, a scan for my little man, who was due about a month later. And by the end of that day, I would become a father. And I put this conversation on the back burner and continued to pursue what I knew in business because now I had a family to support. Over the last 6 years, there's been a lot of hiding behind the curtains of business and not going down a path and talking about what I've always wanted to talk about. And this is a moment in time where I'm letting go of the self-judgment, the fear of judgment of my network, friends, you listening into this podcast. And I'm taking the first step. And I'm hoping, regardless of where you're at with your personal brand, whether you're well on the path, you've built an audience, you've got a community going, or you're just thinking of stepping out, there's something in your life that you've always wanted to do, talk about, share, that's going to make a big impact. But that fear, that overwhelm, that doubt has paralyzed you into inaction. So maybe today is the day that you and I take that first step on that journey and do that thing that we've always wanted to do. So that's the invitation. Whatever that is for you, take that first step and know that this road is a marathon. And in marathons, you want to quit. There are hills, it's exhausting, but there are also times when you get the endorphin rush and it feels great. And the reason why I've started this is I look at the newsfeed, and when I scroll through it, there's Hollywood highlight reels, there's fear, there's scarcity, there's political agendas. And I don't think a lot of that conversation makes people's lives better. In fact, it probably detracts. And if you have magic, if you have expertise and something to share that enriches people's lives, then it will make the internet a better place. So hopefully, as we share strategies and evolve and grow this podcast, you'll be able to build your personal brand and have a much bigger impact than what you're currently having right now. And there'll be this ripple effect where together, you and I and all the other listeners can continue to fill the newsfeed with empowering topics and conversations that solve problems for people, that help them, give them a new perspective, and ultimately change their lives. That's the vision for the show. My name's Aaron Witnish, if you don't know who I am. One of the benefits of that being my name, there's not many other Aaron Witnishes to compete with, so it's easier to have a presence online and build a personal brand. If my name was John Smith, I'd be competing with millions of other John Smiths. I'm not sure what your name is, but I'd love to connect. So if you find me on social media, there'll be links in the show notes below, and say hi. I'd love to have a look at what you're doing, follow you, and see your journey, because like I said, I want to do this together. And I'll give you a quick backstory just so you can see the path that got to this point. When I was in Thailand in a place called Krabi in 2010, I was sitting poolside and I was reading a book by Dale Beaumont, and it talked about the power of starting to build a profile online. Up to that point, I've been doing online businesses and selling digital products and various other things, but it always hidden. And I understood what Dale was saying, and I saw the benefit in that. So that's when I started to transition and put my first content online. The very first time I put a video with my name and face on the internet, on YouTube, I got a comment within 10 minutes and it said, "You're gay, you little," and it rhymed with maggot. Extremely homophobic and very offensive to a lot of my amazing friends in that community. And that could have stopped me in my path, and I could have taken that video down and gone back into my shell. For whatever reason, I just blocked the person that had a marijuana leaf as their avatar, clearly not showing up as their self, and had never posted a video. And that video went on to get over 60,000 organic views. In a moment of madness, a few years ago, I actually took that video down because I was worried that my YouTube channel would have all this different content that would confuse people. And that's part of the message that I want to kick off the show with, is your journey is going to evolve and change. And anything that you start putting out and showing up as yourself leaves a legacy and trail of where you've come from. And I deleted a lot of that past, and it's a shame. And I've only just given myself permission with this podcast to talk about what I want to talk about and not trying to keep it confined, dulled down, niched, and content that people would like. It's for me now. And that's what I want you to do, because the way you're going to build a personal brand that cuts through the noise and goes deep with an audience and builds genuine connection is being authentic, is sharing the lows, sharing what didn't work, not just focusing on the wins like most people do on Instagram, when inside their world's very different. So the first invitation and the first thing, and it's going to be the theme for this inaugural episode, is just be you. Do you, be authentic and be real. And that's going to make your brand so unique that no one can be a copycat. And I think that's where you'll find happiness. And I know for me, the last 12 months when I've stepped out from behind my businesses, so from 2013 to 2018, I was very prolific with content as Aaron Witnish, particularly on Facebook. And that worked really well. We went on Power Plays with Grant Cardone. We had a show on Grant Cardone TV called Aussie Closers, which I cringe when I look at that now because I wasn't being authentic. I wasn't being myself, which is why I think I stopped doing that. Went on all these podcasts, did between 50 and 100 live events, speaking on stage. And then from the moment my son was born, Bailey, in 2017 in August, I kind of hid behind our businesses and stepped back and built them up, which has been fun, but it's not my calling. The last 12 months, I started creating short form videos, and I started a different podcast to this called the Content Marketing Podcast. And I started to find my voice. And in the last month, I've worked out that there's freedom to talk about anything I want to talk about. And I've got to do it from a place of complete vulnerability, honesty, and openness. And by doing that, I'm leading from where I live. I'm not talking about things that I'm not doing in my own world. So that is episode number 1. And the invitation is to follow the show, whatever platform you've tuned in on. And I thank you so much. And if you're able to review it in this conversation, then that'd be amazing if you could do that to help us get a few people to tune in. But the takeaway today is do you the way you want to do it, and don't apologize, because that's what's going to build your personal brand and build it from a place where it's aligned, it's congruent, there's no skeletons in the closet, and you'll be able to sustain it and have that marathon mindset that doing the activity, starting to show up, is going to compound. And in the beginning, you're not looking for the vanity metrics, the followers, the likes. You're looking for that voice. You're looking for the lane that you want to speak in and add value and build a community in. And it's much more impactful to go deeper with a small number of people than to go wide and have a very surface level relationship with tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of people. So if that's the journey you want to go on, then we're going to have a great time doing this show. And as I said, let's connect on social media so we can follow each other and support each other on the journey. Thanks for listening to the first episode.